if something's a murder, it's a murder. So you can't then go on to say, but it's okay in these situations. So okay, you're saying it's okay in rape. Well, who decides whether the woman was raped or not? Do we wait for them to go to court? Do we wait for all that? And it boils down to, it has to be the woman's decision. It's the woman's choice whether or not she wants to carry out with the pregnancy. And that's all there is to it.
I was thrilled to see the emergency bill and get to the second stage. And what was very apparent to me was that there was two groups outside the Dáil that day. One group was the anti-choice side with their big billboard of the fetus and everything like that. And then on the other side was the environmental groups, and it just really struck me that if you really cared about future generations, would you not be campaigning for climate change and everything, global warming and all that goes with it? It's complete hypocrisy, really is.
Yeah, just Kieran to make a few of the points. A point I was going to make, but the floodgates. The floodgates argument. I quite like the floodgate argument, as I said. If we repeal this, it's one of the last pillars of that the Catholic right have left in this country, and afterwards everything is on the table. Things like control of schools, things like trans rights and so on. But the speaker there mentioned, that the Catholic Church aren't the only lobby behind that, and this is absolutely true. But in Ireland, the Catholic Church have a very specific role in our history in controlling the schools, in controlling hospitals, and nearly getting control of the National Maternity Hospital. And this is one of the last big pillars they have left. If you imagine them, they've been cracked. If you imagine like a windscreen that's been cracked by a stone ship, the X case gave them a little bit of a crack. Divorce widened that crack a little bit more. Same-sex marriage widened it again. Repeal of the 8th Amendment smashes the thing. Then we can start talking about taking back schools, taking back hospitals, having real sex education. We can talk about maybe getting some of the money off them to actually pay back the victims of abuse after they fight. The bicycle fact was the Fianna Fáil Minister Michael Woods did sign a deal, and it was very, very last day of office to make sure they never had to pay more than £100 million at the time. These are the kind of things that come on the table when you can smash them with that very last bastion of control they have in the 8th Amendment. And that is why I think it becomes important to campaign for choice politically, not only just with a single issue campaign, but as part of people before profit, as part of people, because you can say, well, I want to repeal the 8th Amendment, but I don't just want to repeal the 8th Amendment. I want them out of schools, I want them out of the hospitals. Because it is one of the interesting things I was just thinking about today, when we talk about being pro-choice. What kind of choice exists for parents sending a child to school? Well, you've got a choice of a Catholic school or a Catholic school. That's the choice we have. So that's what we kind of mean by choice. So I think that it is important to link the fight for repeal to the fight to separate church and state. Because I think this is the last big pillar they have left. If we beat them on this, we can beat them on anything.
Just this lady here.
Hi, so it's just a question where Deputy Boyd Barrett spoke about the need for the left to come together, and you spoke about housing as well. I'm an intern for the Green Party, so I'm working in the Oireachtas at the moment, and I also attended the 8th committee meetings, and I thought it was such an amazing it was amazing to see cross-party cooperation on such an important issue, and everyone worked really hard together. So it is important for the left to come together, but it's also important for them to come together in government, and maybe when we get beyond this repeal, there should be a coalition of the left to come together to challenge Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, because at the end of the day, the people who are in government are the ones who create all this legislation. So yeah, I'm all for the left to come together, and thank you.
I don't really have a lot to say, and it is getting late. Maybe just to address the last question, or the last issue. I think unity is absolutely important, and that's why we're part of the Yes Equality campaign, and we do have to put the best foot forward on it. But I also think, I really genuinely believe, that the left being out strong and proud about the question of choice is very, very important and could make the difference in thousands of votes of the people that we reach and the message that we have to put out there. And so there's no contradiction to me being part of a united campaign and at the same time for left parties to do their thing also. You know, I think that's legitimate and fair enough, and I think that's the way it works. And I think the way we work in the Dáil too with the other left parties is, unfortunately, we're all very fractured, but we do all vote the same way, advocate the same things, back each other up when it comes to, you know, pushing for lobbying on particular issues. Just on the power of the Catholic Church, and I absolutely agree with you that we underestimate sometimes the power of the Catholic Church, and it's not just over the hearts and minds of people, but the access they have. The access to the airways, the access to the people, the access to schools, to education, to all that stuff we talked about, is still really, really, really startling in many ways. You know, the bishops can get on Morning Ireland and talk away more or less unchallenged for almost half an hour and tell us why this is such a wrong thing to do in all circumstances. Doesn't matter like whether your head is hanging off or you've got 5 children at home and you're about to die. And I actually met a woman who was in that position. I used to work with a guy whose uncle reared 4 boys because the woman died because the priest told her it'll be a mortal sin if you have an abortion. The doctor told her she needed one, the priest told her she'd be committing a mortal sin. And so there was this family left, you know, with the father rearing 4 very angry young men in rural Ireland. And that isn't just one incident, that goes on. And the church still hold a lot of that sway over a chunk of the population. But I do think it's shrinking. And what's not reflected here tonight, unfortunately, and it's probably because the lineup was a bit old, me, Vincent and Amy McCann, and apart from Anna, the young people who are actually out there screaming and roaring at us to get rid of the 8th Amendment because it's about them, their bodies, their future, their autonomy, are not reflected in this room. They are inspiring, and they will be out voting. They're in the colleges, they're coming home from work abroad, and we're pushing for an early referendum so that most of them are in the country at the time. And I think it will be the young, it'll be the future that'll push it in the right direction.
I'm conscious of the fact that insisting on calling fetuses babies all the time is resented and understandably resented by women who have had abortions and women who've had miscarriages. And the only reason I've done it is, I wish I could do it without seeming to be insensitive, but is because you get involved in an argument about when human life starts, and it distracts attention from the central point. And that's why I just would just give in on that point and just argue the essential points. And just a few other things. First of all, the Catholic Church. I'd love to be in a position to ask a bishop, what credibility do you people have, namely the Catholic hierarchy, to give moral guidance to anybody about anything, since you people are the people most in need of moral guidance? Just a few other points. That there are ways in which, if this amendment is passed, and or rather if the repeal is passed, to limit abortions here or anywhere else. And they are, first of all, to deal with the issue of poverty. The median disposable income in our society. By median, I mean that the person right, the median is the person right in the middle. That is about 21,000 euros, which means that half of society has a disposable income of more than 21,000, and half of society has income of less than 21,000, which is quite shocking when you think about it. The poverty line is 6% of the median, and nowadays it's agreed that the poverty line is 13,000 a year in disposable income. Now, how anybody lives on 13,000 disposable income a year, I don't understand, but that's what it is. And nearly 800,000 people, including 200,000 children, are in the poverty. Now, just put a woman